settle into your stance before you get going. Correct your posture. Make sure that your spine is straight and elongated. There. Okay. And beginning with double gong sounds. Do this nice and slow. The whole thing, just kind of slowly going through everything. Let the body just settle in. Elbows can be heavy. Shoulders letting go. Your sudden character punch. And let Tansa open up. Really focus on just moving the wrists, those tendons moving. And focus on chambering. Make sure that you don't have too much tension on the knees, and that a majority of the tension is going to be at the sockets of your hips. This comes out. Tan sound. Just take your time with this Hyun sound. No rush here. Feel what's going on inside of your arm. That's the really neat part about slowing down like this. And bring it back out. It's a good time to check in. Where's the tension? Can you release it? You breathe into it. No, it's great. Everyone else is okay. And slowly have the Tansa come up horizontally. And the elbow follows a contour of the rib cage. And then forward, elongating. Slowly. And slowly turning into your fusa. Hang out here. So while you're here, start starting to settle that left shoulder blade. Check in with your hips. Are they properly aligned? Are the glutes engaged? Do you need to disengage them or move deeper into the ground? And follow your pinky with the Hyun Sao circling hand very slowly. Bring the focus into the tendons that you feel inside of the arm. Doing this. Sinking elbow. As the elbow sinks, the fingers can simultaneously come up. Release the shoulder. Any breathing technique you know that helps you relax is a really good place to insert it. Bring this guy down to a fusa, really sinking. There we go. Really start opening that elbow. The fusa drops to horizontal, and you just pull it away from you. Hyun Sao number 2. nice and slow. There we are. Start noticing, are your feet flat? Are they even? Are you on the edges of your feet? Where's the weight distribution? Is it on the root or is it on the heel? And coming on out with this foot out. Moves out again. And train to jet sow, sinking elbow. So return your hand back. Let's do it one more. Oh, that was 3. And close this side off with Hawks out. And here we go. Strike forward. Slowly turn. Really, really, really work the tendons here. That fist. And chamber that guy in. Now, slowly open the right hand. Let that arm kind of hang. And Tan Sao presses forward. Nice and slow. Check in. Did things tighten up on your shoulders, hips, or are they nice and open? Elongates forward. Flukes out for a moment as you kind of slow yourself into the right side. Slow himself following the pinky, rotating just the wrist, sinking the elbow, then transition into jet sow, sinking elbow, slowly transitioning into returning hand, box out. Nice, guys. And sinking down. The forearm is level with the floor. Fukusa number 1, drawing forward, turning into Yin Sao, sinking the elbow in the shoulder blade. Return slowly back. Sound number 2. Opening up. Projecting out. Sinking your elbow and now back, getting ready for next fix out. goes out. Union cell circling and work those tendons and return. And the last flukes out here. Last one. Elongating out. Circling around and sinking at the same time here. Get ready to close this side off. Boom, hawks out. Comes back to midline and center line strike. Doing so nice and slow. Really using the joints here. Left hand goes downward facing palm, nice and slow. Your mind touch the floor. Stop. Right hand downward facing palm, right at the side. So this next one, when you go to the double palms back, I want you to use it to open your chest. So you can come here to make sure that kind of pressing down, like you're trying to lift yourself up in this awkward position. We'll use that to kind of open the chest a little bit. Come across here, coming down to forward, downward facing palms. Same thing. Use that to elongate yourself a bit before you come on up to your double long sows. So I make these nice and slow. Use this to also open your chest. Nice and slow. Given proper timing and elongation, you get lights, not lots of tingles when you kind of open this up. Just try it. Since we're going slow, you might as well elongate towards your fingertips. Feel like somebody's pulling all your fingertips away from you for a minute. Now hold that elongation as you then just bend the elbows, and then you start working the shoulders as you're coming back here with the right hand over the top. One of my favorite ways to just elongate all this that's moving. From here, sink the elbows, point towards the heavens, and then sink even more. Prepare for view sows, going up. Slow with straight arms going down, compressing. Double fluke sows rising. Not too high. Make a fist. Slow chamber. Check in with the shoulders and hips. What are they doing? Are they relaxed? Left hand. Round up. Center line. Union south. Right hand to midline. Lock. Press. Tongue out. Nice and slow. The tongue out on the left hand peeks forward here. Make sure when you're going to do the very next thing that you're rotating from your elbow. Turn the key in south, locking this now and just rotating for the wrist, palm out, strike. rotate, and enter back here. Bongsa opens and seeks forward. Turn the key. Yun-Sao isolating the wrists again, and open that elbow joint. Nice and slow. And then Bongsa with the left side. Elbow goes dropping down, palm opens, and strike. Bongsa, right, open. Left hand down. 2, 3, 4, and into 5 minutes of chain punches at whatever speed you wish. Just make sure that whenever you're practicing the quicker speeds that you're not losing the accuracy that you so work hard with before when you're going in learning mode, which is about the speed. So disconnect these, make sure they don't go down. These are all forward piston-like movements. So this drops, this clears the way for the next one. No snaps, just boom. You're just placing your fist and taking it back. Don't worry about any tension. It's all about alignment and the right type of relaxation. Nice job. Couple more minutes here. One more minute, methinks. Just under 30 seconds. And time. job, everybody. Woo, walk that out. You already punched?
Punching all Wednesday.
Woo. Oh boy. That felt good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like in the most horrible way. That was very much not enjoyable, but it felt good.
It was a good kind of uncomfortable.
Mhm.
The best possible kind.
Oh boy. So we have a class plan tonight, as you can kind of see. So we're going to get into our kick flow drilled with turning. You've all done it before in class, but I will show you what I'm exactly looking for. So, okay. Basically, what I enjoy about Wing Chun is the fact that a lot of people don't get to play around with the kicks of Wing Chun because we become pretty decent with the hand stuff. But I think it's important to make sure that we always have a good flow of how to kind of move and the options for our kicks. So just real quick to review, off this first, like this thrust kick thing, right? It's all heel driven. So we have our three options of either having our toes straight up to the side, or then it turns into a side kick where we're using the rotational force of the of your hip to pivot, but then you're also using the same technique with the knee of thrusting it forward and opening the knee joint. So every time you're doing a Wing Chun kick, it's mainly going to be powered by having the knee go down, not towards the person, if that makes sense. So the whole idea is like my elbow, it opens, right? So the knee here versus me elongating. So with the balance points of Wing Chun, it's really important to be able to be stationary, shift your weight onto the supporting leg, and be able to fire off multiple kicks and pivots, being able to put that guy down and do the same type of thing here, right? Because ideally you're going to be going around somebody, circle stepping, right? And the moment that you have yourself solidified in your Wing Chun structure, you should be able to, or you must be able to fire off another kick. That's kind of the way Wing Chun's been reduced down into. So the kick flow, pretty much, you're going to be kicking, shifting different heights. So you can go low, medium, or high, shifting to do different types of kicks. And you're just going to be walking and doing this, and there's no set pattern to it. It's just whatever flows best for your techniques and your body, start there. So for me, it's going to be different for you, but I find that with continual movement, being able to even draw back to step and kind of line up is a useful way to incorporate in your kick flow combination. So you guys are going to just kind of build that here and there. Did we lose Dan? Oh my. Okay. So take whatever space that you have and just kind of start working together. How do I use my footwork? What works? Do I need to be shifting into a kick? Am I going to be the type of person that's going to do kind of those stop kicks when you're coming in towards somebody? right? Or you're going to use a lot more power by shifting the weight. So also, you can incorporate turning with different ways to get power. But one of the things you're going to notice, especially for your side kicks, the thing that Wing Chun does a little bit different is if I'm going to do a side kick, I'm shifting. What you don't want to do is lean beyond your balance point. Wing Chun's going to continue to use this base leg as the conduit down to balance. So you're going to make sure that your weight is still here and not leaning beyond this post, because we are not using a bigger movement to counteract it. And with Wing Chun, the side kick's still rather linear, and it's not actually very long distance as opposed to some other style where you are completely using a different type of balancing system, i.e. more movement to hold you up like a gyroscope. So if you're having troubles keeping your balance, simple thing, chairs and kicking drills are awesome, where you can sit here, stand here, and support yourself while you're kind of tilting and opening this. So if your hips are cramping by doing this, that means that you have to start work on opening the rotators that go outside, the things that make you rotate the toes that way, away from your body. Because you're going to find if you have tight hips, these kicks are going to be spasmy and you won't be very happy.
Yeah. Kicks take flexibility.
Yeah, kicks take open hips, and so just getting over here and just doing a bonger will show you right away if it starts to get stressed out here by just opening up. You got to do more strengthening. Typically, muscle spasms associated with opening the thing is due to weakness. So you have to get the everything strengthened up. So I just got to do some kick flow of my own. Well, let's see if Dan finds. Oh, Dan, let him back in. Dan, come back. And what you're going to notice real quick, being stationary, one of the worst ways to have kick flow, because you're balancing where you should be moving and getting all sorts of different types of balance experience here and there, of shifting, kicking, playing around, working on hand movements, making sure that you do everything within your arsenal that flows together.
Question about kicks. Do you find that it's better when you're beginning to focus on that back leg first before you start executing your kicks? I know for my journey, I was focusing a lot too much on my heel kick and making sure that I was actually executing the heel without making sure my grounding foot was good. And so the moment I was really sure with my grounding kick, with my grounding foot, whichever one that may be, the moment that was secure, then I was able to really hone in on my kicks so much better. Have you found the same process with your kicks?
I find the best way is to have some sort of tension. So if you're kicking a bag, it's going to show you really quickly that you are not posted up.
Right.
And so especially with these kicks are they're different mechanics than most people will be doing, because Wing Chun is always heel-driven stomps, just disguised as thrust kicks, right? And so, a beginner student must have a lot of foundation and a lot of strength, be able to do this,
right,
or sink into one leg without it being really wiggly,
right?
And so, to answer your question, it's more conditioning gets you into that, and really having tension, and it doesn't have to be a lot of impact, but you can just kind of tap a wall, and if you do this kick right and your balance is off, it basically has to do with how stable is your pelvic girdle, how stable is your stabilizing muscles of your knee, but primarily down here.
Right.
Most people's got the weak point of the ankles.
Oh, right.
Because they do this, and what's the thing that moves the most? The ankles.
Yeah. Or they're even approaching it the wrong way, where they'll be on their toes almost.
Kick them. I saw that.
Yeah, get it, brother! Just when you think we're not watching. Sorry, guys.
Nice sort of, what's the school, no sword technique, Dan? Just don't be there. I think it's really important to be able to execute your kicks as well as your combinations with your hands. So, I mean, this is one thing that I've always been focused on, I think more than a lot of Wing Chun practitioners, because I understand. I got beaten a lot by people who kicked well growing up in this style, and what helped me was stealing their concepts and then Wing Chunizing them and making it so that you can actually flow around with Chi concepts. It's all trapping, you know. So I think when you take this style as intellectual style, where you just take the concepts and apply it to what you know how to do, you start to have actual real Wing Chun versus just stuff that looks like Wing Chun, you know, because this is a conceptual art. So if I can trap with my arms, I should be able to trap with my legs, given the right opportunities. You know, that's what we're looking for. But a lot of that's going to rely on your extra good balance and being able to flow and be sensitive with your legs so you don't take direct pressure, i.e. don't check block kicks in this style unless you're used to it. Like that's something that, Dan, I will never, Evans, block one of your kicks with my shin. It's just a bad idea.
It's a broken shin.
Yeah, you put the work into toughening your legs. I'm too old for that to even care about it now. So kick flow, I always recommend that you guys work on that. If you're like, gosh, I feel like I have extra time to do Kung Fu, what can I do for 5 minutes? Work on kick flow and sidestepping with circle steps. Get a chair, get a partner, and start working, drawing them across this way and stepping around. You're real lively. So, contrary to what a lot of people will, and you all that's already heard me a whole bunch, but this is also for anybody who's watching after the fact. But contrary to what a lot of Wing Chun practitioners will say, you must not be super stuck to the floor. I think that's where a lot of people in this style take the idea that maybe I should put it into like a fighting ring and then I'm going to be extra grounded, and that's just a horrible way to get grounded and pounded because they're not light on their toes like any other practitioner that is used to fighting. It's only grounded for a split second when you make contact, but after that you should be able to flow around when it comes to your weight distribution and your concepts of power. So enough of that. I'm kind of just preaching to the choir here. So let's cover the more of our simultaneous blocks and attacks here and start really working on the terminology behind what we have. Because out of everything, that's the thing that gets overlooked the most because we're just busy hitting each other in the faces with chi sao. You know, that's what we want. One day. So I always kind of just start out with Tan Da. This is easy. You can come across this way or this way. But we'll just kind of do it in a really simple manner. Tan Da. Right? And then we can transition this into a Pak Da. You can either go over or under. And this is really cool too. Watch what you can do here. Right? So you can apply this Wing Chun power to here. So you're doing a Pak Sao. It's kind of a Gum Sao technique. If you're in a pinch, you can release Fa Zhen this way if you're really tied up. But it's a play on just placement. But get used to those types of movement because when you're working with higher level practitioners, it's all about the small joint manipulation and how we release Fa Zhen through smaller movements too. So that's just a real fun one for you all. Right? So, but then we can turn back into our Pak Das and switch the attacking hand. Boom. And with these, it's just enough, not big motions, but as small as you need, because you're just trying to sneak past, right? Then from here, Lop Das, Lop Sao, pulling arm are really nice. this is an example of using opposing forces where you're taking their forces and they're already pushing this attack towards you while you are also going towards them. So there's two directions here. You're pulling and you're striking forward simultaneously. It's pretty nasty to somebody's arm, especially when you're doing it properly, which is going to be using other movement with the leg. So lop, da, pulling arms with lop sound, right? So then you can also go and take it, so you can do one to the holster it, right? So you can come across. You can come across this way. So you can just kind of play around with different types of your movements here. So you can come across here, boom, or here. So it doesn't matter, but both times you're drawing their lead arm across their body. That way you protect yourself from the other side, right? So I really like lop sows. So then we can kind of get into bu sows, where this in itself is almost a simultaneous thing, right? You can practice coming out here. Why not? Right? So these types of bu sows are not my favorite. Because it's not utilizing, so if you do the bu sow from underneath your elbow, right, and you clear this direction, this angle with the bu sow has a tremendous amount of power. That's why it's taught like this in the bu-gi. This is not just a clearing power, but this angle, especially right here, if you catch somebody, walk into them and then straighten the arm out, you take this 45, you create a wedge that takes half of their body weight and puts it in a different spot for them, so that they just kind of slide off you and just kind of explode from them. So I like the bu sows that come out and under versus the ones that just come straight out and snake out, more like an attacking limb thing. But if you're going to hit somebody in the throat, that would be using one of these. If it's a situation where you feel like you have to put them down, but he's just like, I can't risk them standing up again and fighting me. It's just boom. These are gnarly, right? But these are a little bit different than just coming straight in like this. Not as big as an angle, right? Not everything's simultaneous, but this in itself is a simultaneous block and a strike, right? Then let's talk about jet sow, right? So it lives here in the elbow and lives in the relaxed scapula, right? Now, if we don't have the ability to sink, of course, then you can make a bigger movement and come down, but we're no longer using the sinking elbow, which is what the name is called. It's about here. So creating small enough movement like our pak sow to just clear and get in for inward things coming at you, like jabs or body shots. Not jabs, it's bad for a jab, right? So then we have jet sow, jump sow, which is going to press forward into the person. So we can do, we'll just work here. We've kind of gotten off the strikes because not everything works well with simultaneous strikes in this style. So here's another option of one that doesn't work so great with punches. Why? Because this can be an attack too, but it's mainly more meant for jamming somebody, similar to a gum sow, right? So what jump sow does, or jet sow does, it goes down. Jump sow always goes forward. And every time I teach this class, I stumble on all my words because they're very similar sounding. But jump sow, forward, jet sow, sinking. Right? So from here, it's only natural to talk about fox sow. So we notice this big move in here that we also had with our bu sows. But these, what we're primarily doing is we're using the blade edge of our hand up till the knuckles. So you have kind of the knife and then what I'll consider the sword blade. So you're trying to hit with this, the knife edge of the hand when you're coming across. Whisking hand is fox sow. So it's going to come across. These are great for limb destructions. All right. They're blocks and strikes at the same time. You go here. These are really mean. So then Fox Sao can also go up, right? These look really silly, but they're not so bad when you're blocking something at the last minute. It's real close in. It also enables you to get on the inside. So if I had, like, say, Alita's here, she's throwing something that I'm not expecting, right? So I already have this line of sight. I've structurally sound here. No matter what force she puts in, it gets put down my back. But then I can simply just drop my elbow, and at the same time, as she presses on here, you know, the turn the key concept and seal them down. Well, my bone is made contact and kind of niched into her arm, and so if she pushes in and I rotate, it rotates her entire body, pulls her towards me, and it almost makes me have to hit her. Like I'm loaded up, and like I'm almost off balance because it's pulling me into stepping and hitting. So I like these emergency Fox Sows that just kind of come up and they just want to hit. So that's a application of not just doing a Fox Sow this way, but coming up. You almost use it like a close bong sow that you just kind of like, oh, it screwed up, but you didn't, because there's a tremendous amount of force here. Then you can do just about anything from that point if you need to escape or if you need to turn it. Or that's where the kicks come in if you run out of options up high. So I like these. These are sneaky. A lot of crane here, as you can see. Right. So then one that's not really talked about a whole lot, dip sow. It's a rising hand. Every martial art has this, because everybody doesn't really do downward strikes the same way. But rising hand works just fine, right? So it's nothing special. We use it if you're on the ground trying to get up and you're like, holy crap. But then again, notice I'm probably going to be doing something like this because it gives me a better angle of attack towards them versus now I only have that angle of attack very easily, and I'm going to have to do more work to shift into something, if that makes sense. So personally for me, I most likely will never ever use a rising block unless you've caught me by surprise and I'm doing something dumb. Usually you're going to see something more like this, or even in some lineage of Wing Chun will have a high bong come up and out. You have to be really good at setting the shoulder to make that work. Otherwise you damage the rotator cuff. But dip sow, just general information, rising hand or rising block. Now let's look at Quan Sao here. I like Quan Sao. Quan Sao is a mix of two blocks, and it translates to rotating hands. And there's several different versions of things that look like Quan Sao, but everyone has an individual name. For us, we're going to identify the difference between a Quan Sao and another one. I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but basically Quan Sao has one Tan Sao simultaneously with a Gon Sao, which is going sideways. So you have force going sideways and force going forward, so it helps you split power. So if you're taking a nice strong kick, you're not just all putting force in one way and fighting it here. So instead, one arm would take power in one direction, the other one here. So these are great with shifting. All right. That's just also in the View G. Right. Now you can add a low bong to this, but it's no longer a Quan Sao. Quan Saos have the Gon Sao striking down below. That's different. You're using this if it's got a bong Sao to deflect force versus just punish it, right? So know the difference in what you're doing when you're coming down with a Gon Sao and a Tan Sao, i.e. Quan Sao, or if it's a double Gon Sao where you're both just hitting something hard. So on the Muk Jun, if you just want, you had a bad day, you want to feel like you did some work, just work double Quan Saos, and you'll kind of toughen things up. But the energy behind these are more capturing and softening blows so that you can attack somebody and get their structure. So practice all. lead with the forearms or practice the subtlety of the art, right? Oops, my weight distribution went to old school style for a moment there. Quan sows are fantastic for turning if you have to defend yourself from behind, but so are double gone sows. In most styles, you're going to hear a called an X block or a universal block because it covers so much of your upper body, right? So I have this upper and lower gate covered, right? You turn around with the leg up and then you have quite a bit covered, but you better hope that you've got a lot of structure and force, because if you get tapped and you're not grounded, you will move, right? That's why you come around here, right? So it's always turning here. Those are great to practice because you're going to pay attention to your footwork and where your weight distribution is, because actually it's more down there than just the easy part, but it's the hard part, making sure that your weight is in a manner where you can just immediately launch off that back leg that was the front one, right?
Side note on the Quan Sao, what helped me a lot with the Quan Sao when I was learning it, especially for again and Veronica, was keeping the harmonies in check here, because it's a lot of coordination that happens, and I really feel like for women, especially when we're trying to take on bigger opponents, having this connection here where you have so much ground that you're trying to cover, oh sorry, two cameras, where you have so much ground that you're trying to cover, as well as when you're maybe a little bit shorter, definitely having the Quan Sao is definitely helpful. So especially for again and Veronica, having that, keeping the harmonies in check, and even almost like you're still leading with the hip with everything, so it can be quite powerful.
Yeah, another way to kind of throw that down is like there's no twisting involved in any of these concepts.
You're not here.
Yeah.
You're literally moving everything. And I find this super strong too when it's applied.
Yeah.
Very strong.
Wing Chun, there's no twisting, it's all just shifting.
Yeah.
So twisting would be separating the upper and lower body. So anytime we move as one, you're going to have the full power of your actual frame versus a piece of it, which usually the other half is now struggling to maintain balance at that point. Yeah. So let's kind of stop here. It's always homework to play around with all those things, but I think the hardest thing is just not the movements. The movements are relatively ingrained in everybody that's here. It's just, what's this called? What's a better way to communicate, you know? So we covered our Fox Sao, that goes in a couple different ways. We covered Lop Sao. So Fox Sao is a whisking hand, right? And then our Ton Sao is receiving hand. Our Lop Sao is kind of grabbing or pulling hand. Quan Sao is rotating arms, right? And then from there you have like double gone sows and other things. For anybody watching this, you can always comment down. Cool, okay. Well, let's get into our Wing Chun battle punches because we're running out of time here. So if Wing Chun battle punches are just a fancy way of saying you're doing punches and horse stance, and it's going to be hard, so you have to give it a cool name. So we'll start over here. So basically, you're going to get into your goat catching stance, and then we're going to be like, goats aren't good enough, we got to get a horse stance out, right? So then you're going to come here with a straight back and knees being as vertical as you can, and then you're going to do something that you don't do in Wing Chun normally. You're going to twist. I said Wing Chun, no twist. Then you're going to be punch, 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 punch. So with every punch you're doing, it's one leg movement. And then you get as far as you can go in your room. And then you turn. And then you do it that way. Punch, 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 punch. So what this starts doing is it helps pull the side here. Oh, it feels so good. and then you turn. Ooh, one side's tight. So we're gonna do that for a little bit. If you've got a long staff, that's where you're just doing right like that. This is a good thing. Don't overdo this, but give yourselves 5 minutes, and we will just do that. Take breaks. Don't be a tough guy or tough lady. All right. It's all about correct. Yeah, that's horrible. Yep, it's not better when you speed up. My goodness. I always find my allergies when my body warms up. It's just like, bleh. Guess what? Breathing's now a challenge. It was too easy. Couple more, guys. And one more set. All right, guys. Give that one a break. Wing Chun Battle punches. Good for the soul. Good for the knees one day. Oh, there's a staff in play. What I like about these, what are they? What's happening over there?
Nothing. I was trying to get Dan to do it for the camera, but he wouldn't.
It is not his time.
One must feel inspired.
This reminds me of Hungar.
Yeah. Hungers.
Yeah. Actually, what I read is that the pole later came into the lineage, like later, and I think the guy who used to be he was the abbot before they burnt the temple down. I heard that he taught that to one of the people, and he was like really good at the pole, and he was a black tiger guy.
Wow.
Yeah. So I don't know if that's true or not, but it's interesting.
It's true to me now. I like that story. Yeah, I mean, yeah, the staff was one of the last things to be added to the style. I was watching a documentary about Wang Shanglun, and I agreed with this one point where they said Wing Chun stopped evolving once it stopped being tested in combat. You know, because what Wang Shanglun was doing during that time was refining what he did best, you know, with fighting and using all the other stuff in Wing Chun and just be like, oh, I only need this. And, you know, like Wing Chun has been evolving for the last 300 years, but now there's not a lot of actual using it in literal combat. And so, you know, we're at this pause. You know, which is good and not so good as well here, but I just thought that was pretty interesting. So the Wing Chun system set up like this. First you get the first 3 forms and you have a student work on those, developing strong legs, loosening up their joints, making them really good about angles. And then once you have a really decent practitioner, then that comes, well, then also the bulk Jun's included in the fourth thing in there. But then you're going to have the two weapon sets, the Pak Jum Do, and when you give a practitioner that, you start toning more muscle, right? Because working Pak Jum Do with the Wing Chun techniques, it hardens the body in a good way. And then the pole form gives you full body power and way more Fa Jian when it comes down to working explosive power. So you train like that to make the Wing Chun body even better with the weapons form is kind of one of the theories that I read many years ago. And I'm like, yeah, when you start doing these guys working with the dragon pole, you have to be actually very fit and have a lot of endurance. Mainly have a lot of endurance to deal with that. But when you apply it to your Wing Chun, all of a sudden you have a tremendous amount more power than people who do not practice that way.
In the Chun Q, 3 strikes, I think I remember hearing you say they're the opposite direction as the chain punches. I'm wondering if that would be a good, something good to explore next time.
Yeah, that's right. You messaged that, and then we had the snafu with the updates of Zoom and stuff. When it comes to them, I'm not sure that that's what I meant to say. Because I'm sitting there, I'm doing the forms, and I'm like, okay, at the end of the Sealam Dao, I'm punching. Okay, so if I'm doing my turns where I'm starting to the right, left, right, I should be over here, right? Then we're gonna come over here, and then, yeah, they're the same. So they're identical. We're not going to be going underneath to create power. So does that answer it better? Yeah. There's no difference. The difference was me. Let's see here. Where else? I'm going through all the sets right now in my, yeah, everything's relatively the same thing. The only thing that comes out kind of different is the Bu Saos that are coming out in the third form. Those come out in under versus most of the things that we're going to do is going to feel like it's coming in this direction versus this direction, you know, so, you know, over, not under. And I don't have a good question as to why. To me, Alita, do you have some?
No.
You look like you were going to say something.
I don't have a good answer either.
Coming underneath, my muscles have been formed in such a manner where it doesn't feel as strong. You know, so if I'm doing punches this way, I don't feel like I have the same power here. I don't know if it's just how they start or it's just the way my brain's wired or what, but test it out. Yeah, that's what I got for you, Dan. How about you other two students?
Well, I was, it's not specific to anything we talked about, but I was wondering what the thoughts are about in-person classes with masks and going that route.
Yeah, honestly, I just posted a thing about classes. I am completely 100% open and want to and would like students to feel comfortable enough to come out and do small group classes with masks and make sure that we're practicing good hand hygiene. We are not publicly going to open the school until I'm going to reevaluate once fall comes, because I'm just looking at this whole mess. I'm looking at what people that are owning studios are having to do, and it looks absolutely ridiculous, and I think we can do better doing what we're doing and meeting up in person privately. So I'm going to have a schedule out within the next week about my availabilities during the daytime, so that you guys are willing, like, and then we'll also have select class on other days that all three of you are aware of is happening on Saturdays, but those are invite only, not open to the public, just open to us who are here. So that's kind of what I'm thinking on it, but we're just going to keep honing our Wing Chun. I'm cool with contact as so long as that we're having masks and everyone's feeling comfortable with it. Yeah.
Things are a little bit, to answer your question also, Dan, right now, things are a little bit, please be flexible with changes. They just announced that as of the 24th in the state of Oregon, you can't be inside without a mask on, and that's going to include everybody, including us, but almost
Businesses.
all businesses. So things are changing, and so as things change by the minute, we'll be trying to adapt and try to bring to you the best education that we can in the moment. But we've been trying to, ever since this happened, really roll with everything as it comes. So we appreciate your flexibility with us.
Let's close up class with the end form, and yeah, I appreciate you all coming out and making my Friday much more fun at evening hours. Can you see me? You can see me. Okay. And it just flow through at your own pace here.
All right, you guys have a good night.
You as well. Have a good weekend.
Take
See
care,
you
Dan.
hopefully on Sunday. Bye.
Take care.
Nice to see you.
Nice to see you all.
See you guys.